Welcome everybody. Thank you all so much for joining me here today. My name is Pritesh with KaizenCrypto. We are here in Dubai in Festival City at the Cardano Summit 2024. I'm here with Jack, the Ecosystem Director with Intersect MBO. Jack, thanks so much for taking the time to sit down with us. How are you doing today?
Yeah, great. It's fantastic to be back in Dubai. I was here obviously last year for the summit, and it's just great to reconnect with the community and just, I love coming out to these events. So yeah, I'm very lucky.
Yes, okay, excellent. How's the turnout been? How's the reception been from the community?
Yeah, I think really good. I mean, Intersect started about a year ago. So when we were here last, we were very much in the beginning of everything, and people were saying, what is Intersect? What are we doing? And now it's very sort of well understood. We've done a lot this year, and it's a bit clearer. We've got a huge membership base now, and so it's just really positive. It's just great to come back and now sort of talk about the progress we've made, but also looking further ahead into 2025.
Yes, absolutely. Looking forward to that during our conversation today. So I guess to start off with a brief introduction, could you just tell us a little bit more about Intersect and what it means to be an MBO?
Yeah, so Intersect is a member-based organization for the Cardano ecosystem. It's been, as I said, going for about a year now. And essentially we're tasked with two things really: supporting Cardano's on-chain governance and also advancing Cardano's development into the future and into 2025 and beyond. And so what that means really is that we have a large membership base now, as we sort of mentioned before. We've got about 1,700 members that have paid up and joined Intersect, plus 2,000 more that have signed up to hear more and find out the latest. And those members and associates are working on Cardano's on-chain governance, so supporting what that looks like, how that evolves and enhances, things like the Constitution, which I'm sure we'll talk about shortly, and of course, everything that's related to the hard fork and bringing about on-chain decision-making to the chain and to mainnet this year, which has been a big theme of 2024.
Yes.
And that's related also to the technology, right? So we've got the other side of Intersect is that we have 90 odd repos that we manage, including core Cardano and the Haskell node. So we're very much a hand in hand with the technology of Cardano and the core infrastructure alongside the supporting on-chain governance, which is this nice circle of how we make decisions, how we get things done for the benefit of the entire community through the member-based structure that Intersect is.
Sure. So anybody is able to join, whether you're individual, enterprise.
Exactly, and I mean, and also outside of Cardano, which we welcome because it's great to have additional perspectives, and people have in other parts of the ecosystem and blockchain in general have achieved a lot as well. So how do we learn from everybody and collaborate and work together to advance the industry as well as Cardano?
Sure. Yeah, that's going to be a growing theme, I feel, is even though we are at a Cardano-centered event, there is going to be other blockchains and other communities that want to participate.
Yeah, I mean, Polkadot here, and they've done some really great work with their treasury and how they've managed their ecosystems for, I think, since 2020. So there's lots to learn from lots of different ecosystems, and definitely Cardano does that really well. And the community, I find, in Cardano is very open and embracing, and always has been. So that's just, it's great to be a part of that in this member-based structure, which is this open, transparent way of collaborating to decide what's best for the ecosystem and the network.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I wanted to get your thoughts on the recent governance workshops that have been taking place. Seems like they're happening all over the world these days. Tell us a little bit about that, and also we have the upcoming constitutional workshop, which will be in Argentina.
Yeah, so we've been having, I think it's 63 constitutional workshops that have been happening since the summer this year, and I think have just finished now, if I'm not mistaken, which is fantastic. And these workshops have brought together thousands of ecosystem participants, Cardano holders, ADA holders, to decide on what does the draft constitution look like. Essentially getting that feedback in, building up that implicit consensus. So when we get to the convention in Argentina, the delegates from those workshops, and maybe this is a good actually slight pause, out of those 63 workshops, there'll be a delegate and a traveling alternate that will be sent to Buenos Aires to represent their workshop, and will be voting and signing off on the final version of that constitution in Buenos Aires in early December. Mm-hmm. Once the delegates have done that, of course, it goes on-chain, likely in early part of 2025, to ratify that with everybody else having a say on-chain.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I was very fortunate to participate in the workshop we had here in Dubai, and I learned a lot. It was really great to see also the Cardano Foundation was there for that. So it's really exciting to see the future of governance and how it's evolving within the community.
Yeah, and I mean that's a good point. And you know, when we look at the membership of Intersect, we've got the pioneer entities members there, of course, and as I said, 1,700 odd paid up members plus over 50 enterprise members that have joined Intersect in less than a year, really, since we've been.
It's very impressive.
So it's fantastic, and I think what's really demonstrated this is the need now with on-chain decision making here, that we have to have some structures in place where we can bring people together and decide on what is the right thing for the ecosystem moving forward and the network. But then also just understanding that there's just this desire for open collaboration and transparency and a new way to look forward for really Cardano's next generation. You know?
Absolutely, absolutely. I did want to pivot a little bit as we're talking about all these things that are happening. Were there any challenges that you've encountered doing all this in terms of coordinating these different workshops? There's a lot of moving parts with something like this. Could you tell us a little bit about some of the things that you've had to kind of work through?
Yeah, I think this year has been one of just rapid pace. It's been incredible amount of progress that the community and the network has made this year through the workshops, through the interim constitutional committee elections that we've helped facilitate, through, of course, the hard fork. The second hard fork is hopefully coming before Christmas this year. So much happening. I think that's really what's been part of the challenge is this speed, really.
Yes.
And when you look at sort of other member-based organizations, and we can draw parallels from the internet and open source foundations like Linux Foundation or CNCF, those sort of time arcs that they work to are much longer. And in crypto, we know that 1 year in crypto is 10 years, right?
Yes, that's true.
So we don't have that luxury, and nor do we want that luxury, actually. We want to move fast, and there's this sort of passion and energy from our members that want to get stuff done. And that's what's fantastic about this year. But it's been a challenge. It's been a communication challenge. It's been awareness, just getting involved. Where do I go? How do I do this? And so, as I said, it's our first year. We've not even finished our first year. So how do we take what we've learned from this year, knowing that there's still lots of stuff we want to improve and make Intersect a more effective and efficient organisation for 2025 and beyond? And we've also had, just on that note, a series of annual member meetings just completed, actually. We had 6 in person across the globe, in Tokyo, Sri Lanka, Ghana, Lisbon, Mexico City, Austin, and we've also had one virtual for all members to join us virtually, yeah. And so what that's been a good roadshow of, really, is to say, look at everything we've done, which is just amazing, so well done, everybody, because everyone's volunteers as well. I mean, so that's what's really impressive, and I'm always so grateful for the amount of energy people have put in. But then at the same time, we've done so much, but also we just back to the fact that we need to achieve and work a lot on to improve things. Right? Well, what do we need to change? What do we need to stop, start, continue? That kind of retrospective on this year. And that's been a theme that we've just finished, these AMMs. So the constitutional workshops have just finished. The annual member meetings have just finished. Now we're going into the convention in December.
Yes.
And then, the hard fork, of course, and a bunch of other stuff. So.
Okay. Well, that leads us right into our next point. So tell us a little bit about the hard fork. What does that involve? What comes after the hard fork?
So, yeah, great question. So we had the first upgrade, Chang, the first Chang upgrade. That was triggered on mainnet on September the 1st. That brought Cardano mainnet into the technical bootstrapping phase, which essentially is turning on-chain governance and letting systems stabilize and get ready for essentially the next set of features for Cardano's on-chain governance, unlocking the final features of it. And that's the next upgrade. And the next upgrade will be in early December, we hope, some point in December. And the idea is in every part of the governance design that is specified in SIP 1694 will be unlocked. And that includes treasury withdrawals and a bunch of other parameters that haven't been able to be done in the bootstrapping period. And the other thing, just to mention on the technical bootstrapping period, one of the key reasons why there's 2 hard forks. One is to let, as I said, the system stabilize. The other really important one, though, is to unlock DREPs and get DREPs to start to register on mainnet, build up delegations. Currently, we have about 1 billion ADA delegated to 450 or so DREPs registered on mainnet now. That will keep growing and increasing, and we'd love to get that number higher, of course, as we get closer to December. And then when that second hard fork happens in December, DREPs are then fully unlocked and able to participate on-chain making the decisions specified in the governance design on all of the different types of parameters and treasury withdrawals and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So these DREPs, are they, I guess you could say, aside of these different work groups that are happening, or a lot of the DREPs are actually the ones hosting these work groups?
It's all of that and in between. I mean, there's three roles that are being played in Cardano's governance today. And one of those is the Interim Constitutional Committee, and that's a body of 7 committee seats. They have 1 vote per seat, and they vote on the constitutionality of governance actions based on what we have at the moment, the interim constitution, and hopefully that will be the final constitution the new constitution will be the final one that will get ratified early next year. And then we've got DREPs, which I said have been unlocked now, and then of course SBOs. Now SBOs have been involved in Cardano's governance for many years, and really that's the decentralization aspect of Cardano, which has been so strong for so long. They've been the ones that decide when Cardano upgrades, and that continues, but now we're adding on DREPs on top of that too, and the Constitutional Committee. And this is now really the full decentralization of Cardano at its maximum, and which is unlike any other chain, because no other L1 comes close to the distinguished way of how we've handled our governance design, given that we are the only L1 with a constitution. And so all of these roles combined create a wonderful mix of checks and balances throughout the whole system. Now Intersect is sort of outside of this, right? That's all on-chain, and that's super important. Intersect is really the off-chain part, and the on-chain part in any governance design is sort of this hard endpoint, voting, right? How do we make decisions and making those decisions? Intersect is over here doing this off-chain deliberation, essentially driving better outcomes on-chain. So through committees, through working groups, through special interest groups, we're able to understand what changes should happen, what recommendations can we make to DREPs, to make to SBOs, to inform them to hopefully make the right decisions, or at least an informed decision when it gets on chain. So it's a really wonderful mix at the moment of people making the decisions in a really safe space with all those checks and balances.
Yes, absolutely. I wanted to ask you, for somebody who's maybe listening to this interview and are not entirely sure about how to get started and participate in governance, what are some things that you would say to somebody who's new, who maybe wants to get involved? Are there any things that they should learn about, or any websites they should visit?
Yeah, there's 2 things. If you're an ADA holder, delegate to a DREP. You can go to gov.tools and you can find a DREP of your choice and delegate your ADA and participate straight away in Cardano's governance. You can also do that directly and become a DREP yourself and vote directly on chain for any governance actions that are live. And then of course join Intersect, I'm going to say that. And this is where you can have your voice heard. And what's really fantastic about the way we're doing things at Intersect is that it's one member, one vote type methodology here, which is a nice sort of small counterbalance to the state-based system that we have on chain. And every member has a voice. It's not to do with your ADA value, of course. And more importantly, the decisions that Intersect, or the recommendations that Intersect is making, is coming from our membership base, which, as I said, is 1,700 members plus the 2,000 associates. You don't need to actually join Intersect, though, to participate. You can join as an associate, you can join working groups, and you can really get involved straight away for no cost at all. And that's the low barrier that Intersect is all sort of here for. And yeah, it's just been a whirlwind year. I'm super looking forward to next year, of course, and where we go.
Yes, absolutely. So Jack, lots of great points in our conversation today. I did want to end with what's coming up with this constitutional workshop in Argentina, and then after the hard fork, there's so many moving parts. There's a budget that's being proposed. So can you just give us a little bit of a high and dry of what is the budget for, as far as governance moving forward? People are going to be able to vote on different proposals. Tell us a little bit about that and how it will work with allocating funds from the Treasury to fund these proposals.
Yeah, good. That's a good question, yeah. So the Constitutional Convention is, as I said, early December. Essentially, it's a 2-day plenary session for those 63 delegates to understand the final version of the Constitution. Are they happy with it? Any sort of tweaks and adjustments? And then on the final day of that, they'll hopefully sign that and approve that final version of the Constitution, and then that goes on chain in early part of next year. In parallel to this, right now we're working through the Budget Committee to propose a budget for Cardano in 2025. And this has not been done before, actually. We've never done a budget for Cardano. And this is what's super exciting and probably the most controversial, to be really honest. There's a spectrum of where people sit with the Cardano Treasury, and at the moment the only recipient of Treasury funds has been Catalyst, and the Treasury is currently about 1.58 billion ADA at the moment. It generates roughly, if we maintain transaction volumes as they are today, next year will generate 300 million ADA into the Treasury as revenue. And so when we look at those numbers, we think about, okay, well, now we're going to be proposing a budget. What do we want to fund for an ecosystem? Right? It's core infrastructure, it's R&D, it's community outreach, education, innovation, Project Catalyst, for example, marketing, scaling, lots of different initiatives that we want to consider. And it's all really exciting. And what we're doing in the budget committee now is understanding what those buckets look like. Committees at Intersect have been proposing what they think they would like to see funded from the Treasury as ideas. They are then going out, of course, to not just members of Intersect, but the entire Cardano community for their consideration, with the idea that they're voted on in the early part of 2025. There are some steps, and maybe I should just quickly go through this. Sure. There are a couple of, there's actually 3 steps, and this is back to the checks and balances point on chain, which I think is really important, and it provides that safety net that Cardano is so proud of, right? That we've constantly achieved the progress we've made through being incredibly rigorous with our deployment and our approach. So firstly, we're going to be doing an info action, which is essentially a poll to decide on how much money can we take out of the Treasury, or should we take out of the Treasury in a given period. DREPs will decide and vote on that number. Once that's approved, then we know how much we can ask and propose in a budget. So that will link to the net change. And then again, if that info action is passed, that poll on the budget, that budget becomes constitutional, and Treasury withdrawals can then happen, again voted on by the DREPs and the Constitutional Committee as well. So there's 3 steps on chain before any withdrawals could happen from the Treasury, making sure that, everything that we're doing is really thought through and considered.
Okay, all right, so it's a process. Nobody can just stick their hand in the cookie jar, right? It's checks and balances all the way.
Yeah, and I think it's what people expect of Cardano, actually.
Yes.
And it's really part of protecting that Treasury, because it's one of the USPs of Cardano. It's a fantastic resource. We have to utilize it correctly and properly, but also utilizing it based on what the community want. It's not up to, certainly not up to me or anybody at Intersect to decide what that number should be. It's up to the community to agree and decide. DREPs have the final say, and that's the right way to do things in this sort of new democratic way of making decisions on chain.
Okay, all right. Well, there's lots of exciting things coming up. You guys have been working hard. Great turnout here at the Cardano Summit as well. Yeah, I'm looking forward to keeping up with all the progress.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yes, all right everybody. Well, thank you so much for watching. Jack, it was definitely a pleasure. For those of you who want to learn more about Intersect, make sure you check out the links in the description. There's going to be the links for the website, the different gov tools, websites, which we discussed in this conversation. So make sure you check that out on your way out. All right, everybody, thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks.